Hey, look at that. You got two awesome songs to intro the show instead of one this time. Isn't that cool? God damn, that beeping. I don't know if you guys are hearing it. It's like something's disconnecting from my computer, and I'm not doing anything. So I don't know why that keeps happening. It's driving me nuts. But anyway, sorry. Um, so uh, that just seemed to be absolutely perfect for the intro today because honestly, I mean, it's not like we haven't been here before. We've been here before. This is what, the third or fourth time that we've been here in just that's just in Southern California. That's not even to include the things we've seen up in the area closer to where I am. Not exactly, but like, near my location because the Central Valley is surrounded by some, they're, well, we call them the hills, the foothills. And they're essentially, just very lightly forested areas. But there's some serious wildfires up in that area too, and it wasn't as serious. But I had a few friends that lived up there and had to move away for a while, and it wasn't even because their houses were in danger of catching flame. It was because the smoke was too. It just made the area far too toxic to breathe, and it just so they had to take off. And so this is ridiculous. So, and the fact that that we're still talking about this because once again it's happened. This time they really, I mean, if there weren't enough warning signs this time, then they are just either not paying attention, which I'm sure they probably aren't to a degree, but it's also largely because the other reason because they just really don't care. They're just kind of crossing their fingers and hoping that, okay, as long as I'm in office, it won't get any worse than it already has. And they don't really. Because I'm going to share a funny story, but first I'll just say that there are most definitely ways to have dealt with this issue. At least, I mean, I'm going to play some clips, obviously. I actually can't do. I'm going to do a kind of short episode. I'm going to kind of try to blaze through it today because, well, there's a couple of reasons. I have a few things I got to do that are like I really have to make sure I get done today. Plus, I have to sign for a package that might come. So just in case it does come while I'm doing stream, I have no idea for sure if it will or not. I may have to do a quick run to the door, and I'll be right back. But I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time, just in case that comes up. But so anyway, back to the issue. There's ways that this could have been dealt with, and it just they aren't, and you can tell just by the demeanor of the people who are supposedly the so-called leaders that we have in California, which, by the way, I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I hope this is another, one of those sorts of things that's going to be like that, that serious, like, shaking in you and say, hey, wake the fuck up moment, because it's for people to vote these people into office because they say a bunch of nice shit when they're when they're running. I mean, Gavin Newsom is a guy who was like, what was he, the mayor of San Francisco for a while? And while he was mayor of San Francisco, he presented this massive plan to end homelessness, and his plan was to give them all houses. And nothing ever happened, and whatever, well, some things happened. We lost a shit ton of money for no reason, and the problem got 10 times worse. And everyone's like, wow, this is really bad. So then what we do, we elect him as governor. And then under him as governor, what happens? Oh, the homelessness problem explodes. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to project this, and it's going to be a hard reality for the people in charge. I don't think it's going to really be a massive issue, except that, well, maybe it will, for those of us left, that the people that are mostly having their homes destroyed right now in Southern California, they're going to move. This is going to be the final straw for a lot of those people, because this isn't, people think that because of the area that it's in, and I'll play a clip that kind of backs this up. A lot of the people in those areas are not really necessarily people that are extremely wealthy. A lot of these people are people who are in houses that have been in the family for a long time. They got them passed down to them. They didn't want to leave the area. They've been familiar with it for a long time. And you notice with a lot of people, especially those in Southern California, that a lot of them have a sort of idealized version of the place that they grew up in. And it used to be this, it used to be the place everybody wanted to be. Everybody wanted to be in California. It was the great weather, beautiful forests, beautiful ocean. Everything about the natural surrounding area was ideal. And then under the leadership that has been elected, because it's a Democrat-dominated state, it goes to hell. It goes straight to hell. Like, it's not even... You don't see, and I hate to say it this way, but it's true. You don't see states that are, solidly red having issues like this. You don't. You see them with other issues, but they're not born out of negligence, where something incredibly devastating happens because of the fact that they couldn't be held to their basic duties as elected officials and do, some of the more general things that are required of people who are supposed to be our leaders. It's just ridiculous you could see it perfectly encapsulated in an image, and it's a famous image, but I'll just talk about it because I don't have it, obviously. But it was during COVID, during lockdowns, and during mask mandates, with Gavin Newsom at this expensive restaurant with no mask. So he's allowed to leave his home, go to a place that I don't even know if they serve the general public at that point, probably not, with a group of his buddies wearing no mask. All the rest of us we can't go anywhere. Everything's closed except for, the bare essentials, which everybody criticizes liquor stores being open. I'm sorry, I smoke. I want liquor stores to be open. I want churches to be open too, though. But I want liquor stores to be open. I need my Monster Energy and my cigarettes. I need my caffeine and nicotine. But no, the point is that the point really is that nothing should have been locked down even close to as long as it was. But the bigger point is that if you're going to do that, and you're going to put this restriction on your citizens, and then you're going to just go out and do everything that you've demanded they stop doing for the greater interests of everyone. I'm sorry, that is like hypocrisy in the most pure raw form you could ever see it in. There's nothing about that is responsible or like motivating or what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiring. That's what I'm looking for. That you would want to see in a leader. None of it. It's pure hypocrisy. And so that people got a good look at Gavin Newsom in that moment, and yet, once again, as I talked about before, people were just so offended by Larry Elder which, by the way, for all the Black Lives Matter sentiment that was going around at the time, it was fine for a white girl in an ape mask to throw an egg at a black guy like Larry Elder. That was totally cool, because I'm sure she's probably some trans body positivity warrior that's going to go out there and make sure that everybody feels warm and fuzzy because they're a slob that fucking... I'm sorry, I'm being very mean, but it's just, I've had it up to here with this fucking shit. It's driving me nuts, and it's really starting to get to a point where, what would it take for... Because, we started to see some hints of it in New York at this point. The homeless crisis there was enough to really... That, combined with the migrant crisis there, was enough for at least Eric Adams to be... changing his tune, at least enough to start to question, what are we doing? Why are we just, look at how much money we're spending. Look at how many buildings are being destroyed and taken up by illegal immigrants. Look at how many people are scared to walk around in our subways. Look at look at what's happened in the city. It's out of control. And yet, California, because the citizens in New York and his constituents are getting angry. They're getting upset. They want something done. And I at least say this for Eric Adams. At least he can go out and say something like that. Whereas you see in this line of clips I'm going to put up that Gavin Newsom still somehow with his, I swear you'll never find a more, like, sometimes I refer, like Alejandro Mayorkas, he's an absolute snake. Jamie Raskin, absolute snake. You'll never find a more slick snake than Gavin Newsom. He is an absolute. If you ever watch the debate he had with Ron DeSantis, for a guy to be talking and saying the exact opposite of a statistic that's on screen at the same time as he's saying the exact opposite. There's literal data being shown in a graph on screen at the same time as he's saying something that is not at all reflective of what the data is showing. And people make fun of a lot of lefties for data. Where's the data? Where's the data? Well, this is one that's really basic. It's about, it was about how many people are leaving California, and it was about the crime rate in California, and the homeless rate in California. There was a sequence of charts showing all those things going up, and in particular, as Gavin Newsom was governor. And he's trying to say the exact opposite. He's trying to say, well, we're building out, we're doing all this, homelessness is down. Blah, blah. No, homelessness is not down. In fact, it's up. It's up like mad, is up, crazy up. And Ron DeSantis kind of gives him this sideways look, and he's like, I don't know how you can lie about it's right up on screen for people to see. Sean Hannity's, of course, moderating the debate. He can't help but laugh. Which, by the way, he was actually pretty on. He's trying to stay pretty impartial, and under the situation he was in, it was really hard because, to be honest, Gavin Newsom looked like such an absolute fool. Ron DeSantis, and I wouldn't even consider DeSantis a particularly super strong debater. He's not, but he was just stating obvious facts. And Gavin Newsom was stating everything that was completely wrong, and it wouldn't even take a freaking statistic or a chart or data to actually show that what he's saying makes no sense. And yet there it is, and he's still doing it anyway. And so that's why I say this guy is, I don't know how people end up buying whatever he's selling. I have no clue. Rose McGowan famously came out in the race for governor and the recall. That's the word I was looking for the day. I couldn't remember what it's called when we tried to not impeach, but obviously the word to have a governor end his governorship before the term is over. It's called a recall election. That's what it's called. So you have to do the recall, and then you have to vote in another governor. And we've seen that happen. I've seen that happen once already in my lifetime, but I really wish so bad that that had happened. It didn't get past the recall stage. But as I said last time, it was largely because a bunch of leftists were pissed that Larry Elder was in the lead, and they didn't want him to win. So they just said no, they don't want the recall because they were sure that Larry Elder would win, and they don't like Larry Elder for whatever reason. He wasn't even stating things that were really all that inherently right-wing either. He wasn't talking about any of the really controversial issues. The highest one I would say that's controversial, though I don't know why, was school choice. That was one of the big ones. And I don't understand how anyone on either side of the aisle would be. And right now it's the left, of course. I know why. I can't believe this is the reason. While they go up and lecture the right about their wealthy donors, I can't understand how they can argue against school choice when the rates of literacy and mathematics and like every sort of statistic in terms of kids in K through 12 is down so bad that it's embarrassing worldwide where we're placed. I can't remember, but it's very low. We're extremely low in terms of our education quality. And it's because a lot of people have just decided the solution is to just throw money at it. That isn't working. And the reason that the Democrats are against school choice is because the teachers' unions, who have become essentially a tyrannical sort of union, and there's this clip. I don't know if I saved it or not. I think I did, but I'm probably going to play it at some other point. But the what's it called? There was a bill being signed by Biden recently. I don't know what it was, but you see Randy Weingarten in the back with this like sadistic looking smile, and it's like she is such a she's a horrible human being. But she's been completely fine with all the shit that's been happening with everything that's happened, and mostly because I'm sure the teachers unions were fine with the school shutdowns. And like I said, I think they just were absolutely lazy and didn't want to do their job, and were more than happy to do quote unquote remote learning, which doesn't help you learn anything. But anyway, it's just because of that sort of union between the teachers union and the Democrat Party, they're gonna fall in line with whatever it is that union really wants them to do. And one of them was obviously to keep the schools closed, and they wanted mask mandates, and they wanted this and wanted that. They wanted kids to be forced to be. They wanted vaccine mandates for kids, and that was one of the bridges that was like, whoa, hold on a second here. And once again, with this, I haven't talked about this much. I'm not going to go into it now, but like the vaccine, I don't know how long it'll take for us to really understand the extent of the negative effects of the vaccine and what actually it ended up causing for a long time now. But I've seen some insane sort of shit that's happened because of it's likely because of how many people ended up getting not 2, not 3, not 4, like 5 or 6 or 7 doses of just the vaccine. And it's just like, man, you guys sure have a whole hell of a lot of faith in someone and something that quite honestly has done anything but earn that level of trust. But okay, each to their own. I'm not going to tell you not to, just don't force me to do it. And that was the problem with the left, was that it's like it wasn't good enough that anybody could get the vaccine. It was that everybody had to get the vaccine or it didn't matter. And that's why, you wonder why we call the left totalitarian. There's a great example right there. Anyway, so let's get on to a couple clips. Like I said, I'm going to try and blast through this because I don't want this to be another 2.5 hour episode today. I'd rather it be a little bit less, like about an hour and a half. But anyway, first we'll do, let me see. I had a few clips that were more or less, well, hold on. Well, yeah, they were first about, they were first examples of the behavior of the mayor of the city, and some of the more damning portrayals that have come out of her in during this sort of crisis. But if I can find it, here we go. So these were on Dave Rubin's show today, I think, and yeah, they were they're more or less jabs at Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, and he does a pretty good job of discussing and showing in detail exactly why this woman has no business running. She was away in Africa at some sort of inauguration there to and was, I saw her smiling in this photo with somebody, and it's like she didn't care because she'd been alerted that there was a. Because the important thing about this fire, and it'll be discussed, but I'll just say it right now just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. The thing that really made this fire really out of control, if you haven't really heard all the details, is that right at the time this fire started, the wind speeds were catching up like crazy. Like they were going extremely high for California, at like 80 or 90 mile per hour winds. And so not only is that going to cause the fire to spread like crazy, because it's going to end up, going to be able to move so much faster than it would if it was just a standard sort of normal wind conditions. But due to the fact that it really hasn't been raining a lot this winter, as well as the problems with the water supply that will be highlighted in some later videos that I'll be putting up. The fire department. Oh, and on top of that, it'll be discussed here too. But she cut a huge amount of the budget for the fire department in Los Angeles. The water shortage was really bad. There'd been no rain, and then there was this giant, surge of a spike of wind speed, and so all of that led to this incredibly out of control fire. Where even if a group of firefighters were trying to fly water up to this hill where there was fire spreading up to a higher and higher altitude, well, they couldn't get it up fast enough before the fire had essentially already taken up the entire area that they had been aiming for, and they couldn't really end up catching it. It's so that's how fast it's moving, and it's like so they were basically hindered at every. It's essentially spreading faster than the crews could keep up with it, to the point that people were. I saw a video of one guy trying to use his garden hose to put out his bushes that were on fire. I saw a video of I didn't see the video. I heard somebody describing this though, that they were running like an assembly line of throwing water onto something that was burning, but instead of using buckets, all they had were women's handbags, and that was how they had to use what they had to use to transfer water from the source to the fire. And that was like, so this is what I'm talking about with, there's been warning after warning for years and years now, and then this all goes off, and that's how unprepared this state is to deal with something of this magnitude. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get on with the this first clip. And oh, whoops, I forgot again that you have to have it playing before you can. That's so stupid. I don't know why this player works this way. It's ridiculous. But anyway, okay, now we'll get to this. Okay, so we'll start with this one, and we'll move on. This is a two-part sort of video clip. And I saved them in two parts. So after this one, I'll play the second part. And they're really short. So let's click this one off, and here we go.
Of Los Angeles. We showed you the video earlier, and you heard from Rick Caruso, who lost. The man who was an actual builder and should have been mayor of Los Angeles, and maybe some of this wouldn't be as devastating as it is, but they went with Karen Bass. And I want to start with a tweet of Karen Bass's from 2021. You'll see why we're doing it. This is Karen Bass in February of 21. Ted Cruz fleeing Texas in the middle of a deadly crisis is part of a larger pattern of the GOP abandoning folks in crisis. We need to build a movement to kick them all out. Well, Karen.
Okay, so I just have to throw one thing out. This is something I am so sick and fucking tired of. I'm sorry, but I'm so tired of it. This is so demonstrative of exactly what the Democrat Party does. They rip on a Republican or somebody in the GOP or whatever, anyone who has conservative values. They rip on them for something. Turns out, what do you know? They're guilty of the exact same thing, only like 10 times worse than what they were accusing the conservative of. What's Ted Cruz's pattern of disappearing before people are in crisis or something. Tell me all the instances, because I'd love to hear them. Was it when the leftists in Texas decided they wanted to have a bunch of wind turbines up and they froze? Oh, I don't think Ted Cruz was in favor of that. That's right. Not that he shouldn't, be concerned, but I think he was. I don't think he disappeared. I think he was trying to highlight the problem, and the problem was that the idea of relying on wind and solar for our energy is fucking stupid. And we shouldn't be having whole massive segments of Texas be reliant on it in order to get their energy. So, but no, sorry, Karen. Please tell us. It's ironic her name's Karen, even though she's not a white lady, but still, it's ironic. So, let's see what Karen had to do with her own crisis is going on. So,
Bass, yeah, you were in Ghana. We don't know exactly why you were in Ghana. We do know you've made at least 15 trips to Cuba. Drew, maybe you want to comment on that in just a moment. But she's back and fairly incompetent at the moment. And if you'd like to see example 101 of incompetence, look at this.
Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance.
Drew.
At URL. Obviously that was meant to be there to have her put in a URL to tell people where to go. Because no, it would be nice to know what the URL is. You dumb bitch. Oh Lord, see what I mean? Like this is, and they're supposed to be the party that's up to speed with all the modern technology. They're supposed to be so much more into more modern cultural topics and know them better than those old crusty Republicans that are out of touch. And it's like, sorry, I've never heard Donald Trump do that on stage. I've never heard Ted Cruz do that on stage. I've never heard any conservative do that on stage, to be honest. But yeah, no, there you go. And once again, this is like, as I'm saying, like I'm hoping that every Californian that's planning to stick around at least take a good hard look at what we've elected into office. Well, not me, but what the state has elected into office, and then try to come to a conclusion of something that is a little less ridiculous, because this is the result. You have the second biggest city in the world, or in the country, maybe in the world. No, not in the world. I think London might be. Yeah, I'm sure. But second biggest city in the nation, basically turning into a firestorm. So yeah, it's kind of absolutely absurd to be pointing and laughing at the GOP for not doing what they should be doing as elected officials. That's all fine and dandy, but like I said, have your own house in order first, maybe, before you go pointing fingers. But so the next part of this clip, this is and this isn't quite as funny. This is just sad, and this is the one, like, if you're really needing to know what kinds of what you can expect from this woman as far as leadership, this is about the best sort of evidence I can show you as to why anybody that would re-elect this woman after seeing this is a they either are trying to destroy the state, or they're a fucking moron. There's no other way you can imagine it. But anyway, I'll show you why right now as we get done with this one. Oh, I see. Haha. Okay, that's interesting. So it doesn't have to be closed. It doesn't have to be playing. It can't be stopped. I see. Okay. All right, anyway, so we'll get on with this one now. And this is even more depressing. Oh, whoops.
From the fire department. And now,
hold on just a second. Hold on. I'll restart that so you could hear that.
we talked about it yesterday. She cut $17.4 million from the fire department. And now watch this. If you think it was bad, her reading off that statement and not even knowing what she was reading to say URL like that.
It sounds like
Watch
Biden,
watch
reminds me
this.
of Biden.
Does sound like
Yeah,
Biden.
no,
Yeah.
it does. It does. It's let's say a slightly more functioning version. But watch this as she stands in silence while being asked a question by a reporter.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up, please? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position?
Elon Musk is utterly incompetent.
Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
This guy deserves the medals that Biden gave out. This guy deserves one of those.
No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Keep going, man. Keep going. Great. Absolutely.
Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. They're gonna
Ma'am, hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
Yeah. So, there's your government hard at work, people. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. And anyone that calls that leadership is, I mean, you get what you deserve, I guess, in that situation. Although there's a lot of people in Los Angeles that and the nearby surrounding area that they sure as hell don't deserve it. They don't deserve to have their entire property lost and every possession they have destroyed. And, it's because, like I was saying earlier on, these aren't all people that are just the elite Hollywood crowd. This is Los Angeles is such a big city with such a diverse group of people that are in every demographic and class you can imagine. And, I'm sure that the same thing applies to people who are victims of the fires, but you don't have to, I don't fault someone for making a mistake, but I most certainly fault people I most certainly fault people who turn and look the other way or make excuses and blame everyone but themselves in every opportunity they get, which is why in the next clip I'm going to pull up, it's next one's going to have the man himself, Mr. Newsom, at the center of it. But it's incredible to see this kind of thing up close, where I talk about it a lot on this show, and I've talked about it several times, but the disdain that the left has for everyone else, the elite sort of nose in the air, holier than thou mentality is so off the charts. I don't have to answer to you plebeians, pedestrians and plebs put together. I don't have to answer to you common folk. You don't. I'm a mayor of a massive city. Yeah, you're a fucking terrible mayor who's allowing your citizens to burn. Wow. Real, put that on your resume. I'm sure you'll be hired anywhere. it's just it's sad, but I can't help but look at it and once again go, all right, California, we're losing. We lost. The data came in, and I heard this stat, by the way. I don't know exactly what the numbers were, but it was official, without a doubt, that there were more people that left California this year than any other state, and it's the first time that it ever has been a situation where that was the case. Like, there's been situations where there's been more people leaving California than were coming, but there was never a time in the history of the country, as far as we have recorded, that more people left California than any other state in the country. That is a big deal for, and so who should you look at? You should look at the people in charge. And it's funny as hell too, because what did they do just recently? I just talked about. Who did they elect to the Senate? Oh yeah, a guy that put us through hell for like 3 or 4 years of Trump's last presidency because he couldn't accept that Hillary lost the election and wanted to blame Russia for it. So he dragged the whole fucking Congress through this ridiculous impeachment inquiry based on Russian collusion. So because he made a complete ass out of himself for 4 years and presented nothing but false allegations that all turned out to be true, which he still stands by the way, even though there's contradicting evidence. Even though that's the case, he gets promoted. He's promoted to a higher standing in Senate, and I've seen him there already, and it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be pleasant. I just look at that, and I'm just like, I just look down and shake my head every time. I'm like, what in the fuck is wrong with these people? You voted in that. I mean, okay, say whatever you want about Steve Garvey. I get it. But this guy is going, what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to be doing anything beneficial for anybody? No, you probably don't. But you do it because it's the thing to do if you want to remain in the club that you're in. That's the thing about the Democrat Party. You have to freaking go along with everything that they say and be 100% on board with their entire agenda, or you're completely, you're kicked out. You're an evil racist and probably a bigot and probably a former slave owner too. You might not have even been alive, but you were definitely still a slave owner at some point. We know for a fact. It's just ridiculous that this is how things have kind of how things have settled in this era, and it's incredibly depressing because, I don't know what kind of crisis you have to be going through, or what kind of how susceptible you have to be to lying or to this false moral position that gets presented. But it's time to stop being gullible. It's time to be thinking a little bit more critically when you actually go to vote for some of these people, because don't just look at what they've said. Look at what they've done. Look at their record, because these are all people. These are all people that now have a record. They have a record of what they've done in office, and have they done anything that has helped you at all? And I can definitively say no on my end, but I mean, I don't see how anybody, other than maybe people that are part of the unions that are giving money to their campaigns, I don't know how anybody can be for this. And they can propagandize things all they want. It definitely comes down to, in a lot of cases, false statements that people believe. I know, when it comes to my grandparents, I talked about this not too long ago, how they used to be, my grandpa used to be a Republican, my grandmother has always been a Democrat, and they used to cancel each other out whenever they voted, and it was kind of a thing they had as they were married. But then they had something go on in the family where they both, my grandpa turned Democrat, and I've talked to my grandma on several occasions about this now, because I've noticed she kind of is a little bit on a questioning side of things, and but she just can't quite bring herself to get over it all the way yet. And it's because she's been convinced 100% that if a Republican is elected to the offices that are in control, especially of the U.S., she was worried as hell about Trump. I don't think she's worried now, but she was seriously worried that I think it's just because she believes, rightfully so, that he can't do this on his own. But this is why she's generally against Republicans, that she's convinced now that they want to take away the Social Security. It's insane. It's insane that she's completely, but that's the level of propagandizing. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say that this is like some of the stuff I see now that are used as campaign ads and campaign talking points. I mean, they'd make Joseph Goebbels blush. They would seriously put him to shame in terms of how bad they can make somebody look, because it is just the most fear-inducing type of propaganda you can imagine. The one thing that you need, like obviously senior citizens that have saved up their entire careers for their retirement and they're on Social Security and they're trying to live out their lives with some comfort and some level of stability. And then you talk about the one source of income they have and taking away most or all of it, and that freaks them out. But how do you make them believe that someone's going to do that when that person says over and over again and has said over and over again, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't know how they do it, but somehow they manage to really make them seriously believe. And I guess the only thing I can think of is it's like, you know, when you've been watching the same source for news for, you know, God knows how long. Is like I was talking about how Canadian journalism is owned by the state in Canada and all of it is controlled by the state in Canada. And people found it incredibly hard to no longer believe the same media that they had watched growing up. And hey, Jay, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Oh, by the way, man, I'm putting it up after the stream. I got to cut it short today. I'm not going to do super long, but I finally got a 4K TV monitor, not TV. Yeah, I finally got a 4K monitor. Yeah, man, I'm luckily I'm not in Southern California. I'm more towards Central California, so in the sort of in the valley. I do have a friend, a couple of friends down there, actually. I really needed to call her, a really close friend of mine. I need to call her and make sure that she's not, she's all right. She wasn't affected because, yeah, I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't talked to her in a while. I want to make sure, though, she's all right because one of my only friends left that actually is in a very far away area that... and no offense, Jay, because this is just somebody I've met and hung out with a lot. So I mean, she lived in this area for a while, and but she moved back down, and I haven't talked to her in a while. And I know she lives. She doesn't live right in L.A., but she lives. She lives closer to the bay. But I did hear that the winds were blowing more towards the coastal areas, so I am slightly concerned because I went down there a couple times and it doesn't look like that would be the area that would be I don't think that's the area that would be caught in the blaze, but with how fast it spread, I can't say that for sure. So I'm gonna have to try and get in contact. And that's that's the thing with California too, is that there's people kind of end up. But it used to at least be this way, not so much anymore. But because people have finally had enough, and they just decide, I'm out of here. I've had enough of this. But there's genuinely good people here, and the number one reason I hear from people that don't want to leave is because there really are genuinely really good people here, and they have good intentions. They don't want anything. They don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want anybody to have a overly difficult time with anything. They just are genuinely good moral people, but they kind of have allow their morality to kind of be a double-edged sword that ends up allowing them to be convinced by these arguments that have no basis in reality and have no evidence to back them up. And yet the fear, like once again, the fear of them drives them to this situation where they're so afraid and so paranoid that that's going to happen that it just it overcomes them and makes them kind of get convinced by these people they're just snake oil salesmen. And it's sad, but that's the reality. And we're gonna have to figure out some way to break through that kind of break through that narrative and make them recognize, okay, that's nice, that's all nice and dandy that they say these things, but what have they? Because once again, people that actually have a record, what have they actually done? Have they done anything that has improved the conditions in California for the lives of you or your family or your friends or anybody? What have they done? I remember a video, and this is a great example of exactly what I'm talking about. There was this video, and it was so pathetic. It was so pathetic. Gavin Newsom is wandering around the woods. I have no idea where. And he's gathering up all this dried wood and dried leaves and bringing them over to this dumpster. And he's got these workman gloves on, and he's pulling them over. And he's acting like he's helping out with the forestation and making sure that they clear the dry brush out of the... It was a fucking photo op. I mean, you think he's actually out there doing anything of substance to actually do anything to deal with the forestry being... It's dry brush that's the, bigger issue. You need... I mean, at least bring a fucking weed whacker out there, man. Come on. Jesus Christ. But anyway, yeah, that was... You could just tell. And he's talking about how important it is that we get rid of all the... we make the forest safe for people again and blah, 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 blah. So... we're doing all right, man. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I'll have to tell you about it next time. I definitely want to get down and play some Tekken or some MVC2 or something. But I'll let you know sometime soon because we're gonna have to get down on some fighting game action. But yeah, we're doing good, man. I hope you're doing well. Geez, it's things have been kind of crazy around here, but I'm doing all right. And I've seen you around fairly often, so I've been trying to make sure that I'm here every day, and except Sundays again. But yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna play this one last clip, and like I said, I'm gonna kind of try to jet through this today. So I got one more clip I wanted to play. This is a little bit longer, and this was from Fox, and it's. I normally don't like to play full segments from television shows or anything, but it's only about 5 minutes, and it's a really, really good overview of a lot of the specifics of the on-the-ground situation there. So let me pull that up real quick, and then we'll talk about it on the other end, or if I need to interject, I'm sure I will, but okay, here we go. This is it. Okay. The other thing, I have to... what in the hell? What's going on here? Okay, let me try that again. It's like, hold on, this is weird. What the hell? There's like a box that won't go... Okay, fine, I'll do it this way then. I have to have my, yeah, that'll work. I don't know what the hell's... There's been weird problems, man. Something... I am going to change my motherboard out, and I've got a new AIO cooler and a new motherboard I need to put in, as well as 2 more DDR5 RAM sticks. But yeah, I don't know what in the hell is going on here. It's really weird. Like I was full sizing it, and the box was staying open, but it was just a black box. And it was covering up a section of the video. It wouldn't minimize, it wouldn't close, it wouldn't go away, and just sitting there. I'm like, okay, what's the surprise? That was weird, but anyway. So we'll just have it be window full screen, and or yeah, windowed in full screen. So yeah, well, and that'll work, I guess. So, all right. Are we good? Yeah. All right, here we go.
The Palisades fire is now the biggest blaze, burning over 17,000 acres and still at 0% containment. But firefighters were reportedly running out of water from hydrants as they fought those flames yesterday.
Dr. Houman Hamadi escaped with his family as fire approached his home. He joins us now. Dr. Hamadi, obviously you're living this horror right now, but building off of Brooks' report, where do you lay the
Yes,
blame?
they have, yeah.
Who's accountable for this tragedy?
I love my new Ryzen, though.
Thank you, Todd. It's pretty obvious who's at blame for this, and it's Governor Gavin Newsom, it's Mayor Karen Bass, and on a county level, it's the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, 5 women whose job it is to try to guide all of public safety and infrastructure for the Los Angeles County. These people have one main job, and that main job is public safety.
Isn't that
It is not
insane?
climate change. It's not DEI. It's not high-speed rail that's going to cost $200 billion and take 50 years to build. It is one thing, and it's public safety, and that is the one thing they have not been focused on. Karen Bass.
Exactly. And like, you couldn't sum it up in a better sentence than that one right there. That's exactly the problem with the left as a whole at the moment, is that they always have these virtue signaling platforms that they're trying to use as a stance for why they should be voted into office, when it's like, that's all great, but how about, we start with the basics first. Like, I don't know, making sure, everyone stays alive and doesn't get burned to death in a giant wildfire that takes over our biggest city in the state and the second biggest city in the country. How about we start with that? And then you can get on to the, DEI hiring if you want to. I still don't think you should, but then maybe you can use that as your platform. Let's work on the critical stuff first. But no, that's not what they do. That's not what they do, because that's not what gets their campaigns any attention, I guess. I don't know. These are some of the most unremarkable people in the world who try to go as far over the top as they can to seem like they have anything of value to add, and they literally have nothing of value to add. So it's pathetic, but it's really sad also. So anyway.
Went off to Ghana on a political junket. Gavin Newsom called a special session of the California state legislature to spend $25 million to Trump-proof California before Trump even takes office. And then 3 days ago has a press conference bragging about this disaster of a high-speed rail. They've done everything possible aside from focus on this. And you look at Karen Bass, she's spent billions of dollars building places to put homeless people and illegal immigrants, putting them up in expensive hotels at a few $100s a night, while cutting the budget of the fire department by close to $20 million at a time when we need it most.
Yeah.
The fire department is understaffed. They're short on air resources, short on individuals, short on trucks, short on water, of all things. This is something that we predicted, something we knew would happen. I took my family up to a mountain in the Palisades overlooking the whole community and actually showed them. And I said these words about 6 months ago: this place will all burn. Why? Because it was obvious to anyone that this is dry and it's ready to go up, and we have no resources to prevent it. And unfortunately, what I predicted came true. This should never have happened, and had they done the right things in advance to prevent it and to attack it as soon as it began, this never would have gotten to this point.
And you mentioned, Doctor, that the fire department is understaffed. We got to know you during the COVID-19 pandemic, and during that time, there were firefighters who were let go because they didn't get vaccinated. And boy, does the city need those firefighters now.
This was one of the biggest tragedies of COVID, is they got rid of so many firefighters who were young, healthy people who were never at risk of COVID to begin with. People who worked outdoors for the most part anyway, never exposed in a meaningful way, and told them, unless you get this vaccine that you don't necessarily need, you're out. And guess what happened? Sucks. They either fired them, or worse, they left and went to other fire departments, abandoning Los Angeles, leaving LA with a major shortage that lasts to this day. Even On top of that, again, with the budget cuts, even if they wanted those people, they don't have the money for them anymore. This is an absolute disaster, completely preventable, and I think it's criminal negligence on their part.
Speaking of money, insurers reportedly dropping fire coverage for hundreds of California homes months ago in the Pacific Palisades area. Doctor, what happens to your friends, your family, your neighbors who want to rebuild but now don't have that insurance coverage and maybe aren't Hollywood celebrities with basically self-insurance where they can just write another check and build their home in a few months?
Yeah, this is the part of the story no one's talking enough about. They assume because of the words Malibu and Pacific Palisades, these are all very wealthy people. I'm a treasurer of the beach club, La Costa Beach Club in Malibu. I know many of the 300 people who all lost their homes over there, who are members of that club, who live in that surrounding community. Every one of them lost their homes. And guess what? There are firefighters, teachers, retired elderly people. There are people who are blue collar, low income, who've lived in that community for decades before Malibu got expensive. We're not talking about wealthy people, people who really do not have the resources. And with that lack of insurance and the impossibility of getting insurance in the future after what we just saw, guess what's going to happen? Reconstruction is going to become next to impossible. Add to that all of the administrative headaches from the California Coastal Commission, as well as Malibu and LA cities that are going to have to watch over this, and the lack of construction resources and how they're going to jack up the cost. This is going to take decades to rebuild, not weeks, not years, decades, mark my words. And they're going to be people who have lost everything and will never be able to return. They're going to have to move far away and lose all of their community, their families, and everything they spent so much time building here.
Yeah, that's right. If you lost your home and you don't have insurance to help you get a new one, then your life is altered forever. Dr. Hamadi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're so glad that you're safe. Thank you for your time and insight.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Well, I'll just end on this because, like I said, I'm going to try and cut it short today. We're just approaching the time where I would be just about finishing up. So from the insurance angle of things, because here's the thing, I haven't talked about this before actually on the channel, but when I was 11, 11 years old, I was in 6th grade. We had a house fire, and it pretty much destroyed the whole house. We were at the time devastated because our little dog had been in the house. She didn't burn to death. She died from smoke inhalation. Luckily, it wasn't as gruesome as it could be. But yeah, that was just a completely devastating situation. And I remember when the insurance that we were lucky and we had insurance that paid for everything. And it was a slow process. It took about a little under a year, but after that, we moved back in. Everything was brand new. And my dad was, he insisted on being, didn't insist, but I mean, he volunteered himself to be in part doing some of the sheetrock because he'd been in construction his whole life. So he did a lot of the rebuilding. But even so, it was still mostly the insurance company sending all the stuff we needed to pay for all the replacements and things like that. And it was never the same again. It felt totally different for the rest of the time we were there. But at the same time, it's definitely something where I can say, wow, if we hadn't had insurance, we had to live with my grandma while the house was reconstructed, and we would have probably been stuck there forever if we hadn't had insurance. But here's the thing: is that I just heard this story just days before this situation happened, where, of course, leftward losers in California decided that it must be price gouging going on in the insurance companies. We're going to force them to bring down the prices of this and this and this. Well, because of that, the insurance companies, or they were going to be taxed or something. Whatever they ended up doing, it forced them to raise their prices on certain types of like disaster insurance, like and fire was included. And it's incredibly ironic that that happened just right before, and I can't believe I forgot about it until I heard that just now. And so I would imagine that unless somebody was unsure about being able to afford it and, kept up their insurance for a little bit longer, or it happened to be a policy that didn't quite lapse yet and was still good, like there's going to be a lot of people that potentially will have, because I don't know how long after this whole incident was talked about that it actually happened. So the time between the policy in action versus the time when it was reported on. But if it was long enough to where it started to go into effect and a lot of people ended up losing, because I remember that it wasn't that they raised their prices. Several insurance companies just decided they were done with California, and these were big name insurance companies. So it was like oh geez. So I guess they were gonna have to scramble and find a new insurance. But now that's like, in that case, oh shit, you're gonna lose your insurance. Then you're not gonna be covered at all anymore. And I don't know how many people would be affected by that at this point, but if they were affected by it, it's almost like this. It seems almost too convenient. Did somebody start this fire? Did somebody associated with the insurance company start this fire or something? I don't know. I mean, in this state, there's so many people that are so far to the left. Like, this is the state where you get the mothers who go to parties that are bragging about their transgender child of 12 years old. Like, that's how bad this state is. And when we are talking about, how far people will go here, like I'll bet you a lot of the people that were trying to make a case for why that lunatic who killed what was the guy? He was the board member for the medical. I can't remember the company. It was like was it medical insurance or something? I think it was medical insurance. But anyway, the guy that got killed in New York just got shot in the back by that pathetic little coward that. And then everybody was, there was a combination of people saying that, I can understand why he would do, and then there was also incredibly dumb bimbos that were like, oh, he's so cute. If you're that stupid, I'm sorry, like, first of all, you don't share the same values as anybody that should be in this country. You're a fucking loon. And secondly, when did this become acceptable? Like, when did that sort of thing become just another thing people say? Like, that's just some crazy kid. No, these aren't crazy kids. These are fucking insane kids. These are kids that have no idea, nothing to distinguish right from wrong anymore. I mean, what the hell's happening? We don't believe in fucking having people just decide that because you're a part of a corrupt business, in my opinion, you're going to die. And I'm going to kill you. Now, I'm going to run up behind you like a coward and kill you. And then people both have a response of some sympathy and some suddenly having some kind of crush on this little faggot. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I don't give a shit. Fuck this kid. Fuck that kid, and I don't care. I don't care what kind of mental disability he has. Put him in a psychiatric hospital for the rest of his life, because he doesn't deserve to be around anyone else in society. He's a dangerous piece of shit, and anybody that is gonna anybody that has any sort of opinion about it, that this should be glorified in any way, or is not going to look at this human piece of trash for what he is like just as sick as he is. So I mean, there's got to be some way to recognize. I mean, if it was your father or your family member that got shot, would you still think that? Would you still think that was the right way to deal with it? I would love to hear if that ended up happening and hear your response to it. I don't wish that on anybody, but I would be very curious if the response to that would be the same kind of response. If you would think that guy was cute, or you would think that it was understandable for that person to do that to your family member. Like that, I would really love to know, because it's like there's no ability to empathize with your fellow human being or your fellow American anymore, and it's all fueled by the same type of mentality that we see from these, like I said, so-called leaders that don't really have any kind of qualities that make them qualified to be leading anything. But anyway, I am going to go ahead and cut it there. Yeah, seriously, man, bring back the electric chair. light up old Sparky. I only remember that because Ted Bundy was. I mean, I don't think he was the last one to be killed by a electric chair, but it was as late as 1989, so it wasn't that long ago, and it was actually because he was executed in Florida, even though that was the last place where he ended up committing murder. He had committed murder all the way from. Oh, there's that call. Anyway, I'm going to cut it there, guys. So, I will be back tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And tomorrow I'll be back with... I already have a topic planned. I was going to talk about it today, but I wanted to cut it short. So thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys then. And until then, have a great afternoon, evening, or night. And stay safe. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.
Now, I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out. What is?
For credits.
I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean?